meets a delightful distraction with a deadly, dangerous plan for his destruction in The Girl Who Was Death. As she takes him on a murder merry-go-round with all the fear of the fair.
I'm going to do you the honor of letting you die superbly. But not yet, darling. My name is Death. Is your heart pounding? Your hand shaking? Nice of you to drop in. You'll soon get the point.
This strange, beautiful girl takes the prisoner from the present into the Napoleonic past.
You're quite sure you killed him?
Father, who taught me?
Be sure to watch The Girl Who Was Death, the next exciting episode of The Prisoner on this channel.
There once was a girl named Death, whose beauty could take away your breath. While she coos quite rhapsodic, it's apparent she's psychotic. So we'll act the same, more or less. To pursue her, an agent named Drake is assigned to trail close in her wake. He's an agent impervious of Her Majesty's Secret Service, and will act for Her Majesty's sake. But this isn't the simplest of cases, he discovers as he's led for his paces. He's Alice in Wonderlanded by malice quite underhanded as he chases this lady in laces. This girl is full of surprises, secret agent man rightly surmises. She stays one step ahead, by the nose he is led, so why use all the bloody disguises? And while he's involved in his quest, she is challenging him to a test. If he lives, so it seems, he's the man of her dreams. But anyway, you'll see the rest.
Information. Whose side are you on? That would be telling. We want information. 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 You won't get it. By hook or by crook, we will. Who are you? The new number 2. Who is number 1? You are number 6. I am not a number. I am a free man.
Welcome back, my friends, to an all-new episode of Once Upon a Village, a Prisoner podcast. It's your number 2 here, John S. Drew. And as we're coming to the end of our run here, looking at the 17-episode arc of the 1967-68 television series, The Prisoner, I've got to ask my constant companion, my foil in all this, my number 6, Mr. Jim Beard. Hey, Jim.
Hey, I'll take that. I like being your foil.
I
got you covered.
I've got to ask you, Jim, what were they thinking with this?
Okay, this is one of those rare times where Well, we've disagreed before, but I think we're almost on polar opposites on this one.
Really?
Yeah. I'm laughing. I haven't even said anything yet, and I'm already laughing at it. I think I know where you'll be coming from, and you're right. It doesn't necessarily have a place within the overall show, but I would argue it has more of a place than Living in Harmony, maybe. This attitude of we're at the end, so let's do whatever the hell we want to do kind of a thing. But unlike Living in Harmony, I actually had a lot of fun with this one. I don't remember enjoying it this much on other visits because of what it is. And what it is it's a comedic episode of Secret Agent, and it's also a spoof of James Bond, or James Bond at the time, which actually James Bond at the time was sort of already spoofing itself.
It definitely has James Bond elements. It also had a feel of an Avengers episode.
That's another great example. What it is I walk away from things and I basically say, did I have fun? Did I enjoy myself? Or did I hate it? And taking it as a separate thing on its own, it's cute and amusing and charming and funny. Is it worthy of being in the Prisoner TV series? Maybe not. I was wondering about talking about the very ending, and there was that movie several years ago called The Crying Game.
Yes.
I think it was, and they used to say the advertisements, do not reveal the ending of The Crying Game. So it's like, do not reveal the ending of the girl who was death. But I like the ending. The tag at the very end, is good. But overall, you take it out of the show, and the show is fine without it. And I feel the same way with Living in Harmony. But at least I enjoyed the journey through this one, where I really didn't with Living in Harmony.
I think you're hitting it on the head for me there with the whole idea of this, but it's more than even just this is not your typical Prisoner, because neither was Living in Harmony, neither was, for that matter, Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, try as it might. It really wasn't a Prisoner, and I liked that one because I like my Westerns, but I think what it really comes down to is this is the third episode in a row that is really not, like you said, we just went all out, and this is the penultimate episode.
Yeah,
and stuff's about to go real crazy, in the last two episodes. So it's a little disappointing that we didn't get at least just one more, McGoohan, the Prisoner pitted against number 2 the way we expected.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be pitted against number 2 in the next episode, but it's from everything I'm reading about it, it's a different take and a different feel from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, again, from what I understand, this is when they came back, that they were told, you can have X, whatever it is, 4 more episodes,
right,
or whatever, and they came back, and I'll say it again, that attitude of we can do whatever the hell we want to do. But I can see what you're saying is anybody who started watching this show from the beginning back then, I mean, they already were off balance because the show in itself was very off balance, but this is a different kind of off balance. That said, again, it gave me the vibe of all those nutty, crazy 60s swinging 60s spy kind of things, or all those movies with the big, huge casts of people running around. It has that wacky, wonky kind of British nuttiness that they could do back then, and I enjoyed the actors in this. I enjoyed the idea that the one guy is actually supposedly playing a character from Secret Agent. or Danger Man.
Really?
The guy in the beginning, the one who's the scorekeeper, and then he ends up as the shoe shine guy.
Christopher Benjamin.
Yeah, I read that Potter is a character from Secret Agent. It said he reprised his character from Secret Agent. So if that's not true, then in the A&E booklet that came with my DVD set, it says McGoohan's character meets Potter, a character from the earlier series, still played by the same Christopher Benjamin.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Because he also appeared in 2 other episodes of The Prisoner. He was in Arrival as the labor exchange manager, and then he's in Chimes of Big Ben as number 2's assistant.
Okay, fascinating. So, I don't know. In prisoner circles, it'd be interesting to know if people present this as an argument that the prisoner exists within the Danger Man universe because it's that same character that he plays. I got a big kick out of a lot of the callbacks or spoofings, and one of the things that was very interesting is the steam room scene. Well, that's straight out of Thunderball, except it's funny because it's Bond who puts the broom handle, through the handles of the door to the steam cabinet and traps the guy that put Bond on the stretching rack. Right. So here, this is funny is that it's our hero, McGoohan, who's in the cabinet and gets stuck there, with that. But that was a fun callback. And I gotta tell you, this is the weirdest thing. I had this weird sense of surreality, more so than just because of what was being presented in the show. When he goes into the bar and he's poisoned, and then he starts ordering all the different drinks to make himself sick, which is a very, very clever thing altogether. I went for years with the memory that scene was from a James Bond movie.
Really?
And now I'm like really confused because it's not like I've watched the Bond movies, zillions of times, but it hasn't been very recently that I've watched all the Connery Bonds. But I'm asking myself if there is something similar in a Bond movie. But I remember, being much, much younger, and I think I even told somebody one time when we were talking about James Bond or something. I even think I said, "Oh, there's this really fun scene where he gets poisoned and then he has to order all the different drinks so he gets sick and throws up the poison." And here it's in this episode of The Prisoner. It was just very interesting to me to see that.
See, it's strange you say throwbacks because I was thinking when you said that at first, and I was kind of hoping maybe this is what this episode was also going to try and do, was pepper in references to the show The Prisoner itself. Because like when he's there in the bar and he is poisoned, the lettering at the bottom of the glass as he's drinking is the font, the Albertus font for the Prisoner Village.
Yeah, which is good, right? I know, right? After living in harmony, you're asking yourself, is this another, mind control experiment that they're doing on 6?
I wouldn't even go so far as to say mind control. I just think that the producers themselves were trying to do what we now call today Easter eggs, little things that you go, I get that. Because, all right, just really quick here, UK showing January 18th, 1968, USA showing September 7th, 1968, written by Terence Feely, directed by David Tomblin. Our prisoner is sent on a mission to find out where this scientist named Schnipps has this bomb that is supposed to destroy London and such. And when he gets his mission, where does he get it? He goes into a record store where there's a listening booth, and I was thrown back to Hammer and to Anvil.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that scene because I have to tell you, I really like the music that's playing.
and destroy Professor Schnipps' rocket. There's very little help I can give you, I'm afraid. The opposition have been one step ahead of us all along.
Thank you very much.
What was that?
Nothing.
Standard disguise. Take over where the Colonel left off.
The music is so weird because the first half of the show, it's straightforward, like original music for the show, and then as we get to the second half, they go heavily into the prisoner library.
Yeah, I know. I thought of that myself, and then I thought of you because as we always say, you tend to gravitate towards music cues and music in all the different shows we've watched together, and I kept thinking of you and wondering if you were thinking the same thing. But yeah, like it's almost as if like halfway through production the music budget ran out. I was surprised at how much I loved that, pseudo pop rock, whatever that's playing when he goes into the music store. And I actually wondered whether that was supposed to be incidental music or whether it was actually playing in the record store. And we find out it was, because when he goes into the booth, you can still hear it, but it's muted because he's in the booth. But, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about, because usually I hate fake rock or pop music in productions. Mm-hmm. Like they can't afford to, get the rights to a Beatles song, so they have some sort of fake, thing that plays. But there was something really kind of groovy and funky and catchy about that tune, whatever it is.
And as part of the mission, he's basically supposed to take the place of the gentleman who was investigating this before, but was killed in a bombing when he was playing cricket, and he hits a cricket ball and it explodes. And our man on the scene who's doing the scorekeeping, I did also, because we talk about music, we get the full length, and it's beautifully played. You could actually grab it yourself. Our kind of mystery music there as he's watching. Because I guess he's observing Colonel Hawk there, the man who's killed. But he's supposed to take his place, and he's told wear the usual disguise. Next thing you know, he's dressed in mutton chops.
I know. Well, and then like Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, and the Sherlock Holmes bit.
When you were talking about the cricket match, I kept thinking through that whole thing was like, cricket is so weird. Like to this day, I'm almost 56 and I still don't understand cricket, even though obviously it's a big part of why we have baseball here in the United States, cricket and rounders.
Yes.
But again, cricket's so weird. But it also made me think about, there are so many Bondian one-liners in this.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when McGoohan says, "That's not cricket." that saying of "That's not cricket." And I can't even think of some of the other ones right now, but they're all through this thing, and they're worthy. They're groaners, like worthy of a Bond movie of the same time. I'm looking at the notes in the A&E booklet again, and it says jokes about actor Peter O'Toole, and that I'm not sure where that is in this.
No clue.
And then it says a joke about Chelsea Barracks, which it says
that. What did that mean?
It says it's an architectural London eyesore at the time. And that's funny because that's when Schnipps, who has some sort of Napoleon fetish,
yes,
is saying like what he's going to do with London once he bombs it and rebuilds it, I guess. And he gives that one guy he says, it's yours or whatever. And then he says, and like the rest of you can have Chelsea Barracks. Well, I guess that was not anything anybody would want at the time. It says Mary Quant fashion accessories is another like in joke kind of thing. So I don't know. What? Tell me what you thought about our girl herself.
She was very striking, I thought.
there's something so odd about her because not only do they have really strange eyelash makeup on her, but it was almost as if there was some kind of appliances on her eyelids beyond her eyes are so weird. I went back and forth through the entire episode asking myself whether, and I'm sorry, this is very chauvinistic and I admit it, whether or not she was attractive to me. She's a very odd-looking lady, but there are times where I could have followed her around, in a very non-stalker way, and then it went back to like, oh, she's so harsh-looking, just a very, very odd. And the other thing that's weird about her is that we learn her name is Sonia, although I don't think it's said in the episode.
I don't think so either. I think it's only in the credits.
Yeah, it's in the credits. But I liked her, for the most part, and enjoyed the cat and mouse thing that was going on. I liked the idea that she had standards as to the men that she was attracted to, and that our hero was actually impressing her and getting, through to her. I got to tell you, and again, we're talking within this episode, forget about the prison or whatever. I really, really love the whole bit where he goes into the deserted town and he gets trapped in that building and all the different traps that he has to get out of. And it's funny because stuff started coming back to me as I'm watching it. And number one, I remembered almost immediately what the ending was. Once the episode started, but it was the candle thing.
You've been through the butchers and the bakers. Now you're in the candlestick makers. Only he never made candles like these. These are my invention. They have a cyanide derivative mixed with the wax. As the wax burns, it gives off cyanide gas. Every candle in this room is breathing poison into the air. I do so believe in double glazing, don't you? Keeps out the noise. Of course, it does keep out the air, too. Oh, a last word of advice. If the candles are blown out, they explode.
And I'm thinking, oh, how the hell does he get out of this? And then when he grabs the one candle holder, and I'm like, oh, that's right. And to me, that's very clever. In fact, she should have given him way more credit for how he got out of that one. But I love that he piles all the candles in front of the steel door.
And that's only one of the little ones. I warned you your luck would run out. I've got you now. I'm glad it's to be this way. I hate quick farewells, don't you?
And then use the bellows thing from the chimney or whatever to blow out all the candles at once and blow the door down. I don't know. I just thought that was, very, very clever.
Well, out of all those death traps that he had to go through in the town, it was the most clever.
Interesting. I've noticed mice get irrational in just the same way when they know they're going to die.
And then it's funny. Then you get the whole thing with her up on the building with the machine gun, and it was frustrating because it's not done very well. No. As far as it's very obvious there are no bullets coming out of that thing whatsoever. They barely bothered to do much in the way of a physical effect to show that, bullets were being rained down on him. And especially when he's in the bulldozer thing, there's only a very little bit of it hitting the scoop. There's a shot from her vantage point, we're over her shoulder, and she's shooting with the machine gun, and you were looking down where he's at, and there's absolutely no physical effects at all to show the bullets hitting the ground or anywhere around him. And to me, it's just it really took the teeth out of that at all. Wow, she's got a very powerful machine gun thing, and it's it's obviously very fake.
I'm surprised, though, you're not mentioning one thing here of note. Early on in the episode, the bar scene. When he pulls up, he's not pulling up in the Roadster.
Ah, thank you. I thought of that. Yeah, they had to remake it for shoot, I can't think of the episode. They didn't have the original one.
Right.
Do not forsake me.
Oh, do not forsake me. Okay.
Whatever was supposedly the first episode that they came back into production with, and then I read that they had to recreate his car somehow. But right, would that have been too much to have thrown in his car in that scene?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the message from her. The whole start of the cat and mouse thing is he gets the message from her to come meet her at his local pub. So she clearly knows who he is. And he doesn't even bother to bring the disguise. He's out of disguise when he's in the pub. And people know him. The bartender knows him and everything. She gets him his usual and stuff. So there's something there that I'm thinking, why didn't he just then bring the Roadster if he's not having... And then, of course, weirdly enough, afterwards, he goes back into the disguise when he goes to the the sauna.
That doesn't make any sense at all, and that had occurred to me, too. And it made me wonder if it was intended... The original order of those scenes was tossed up into the air and then reassembled. And because it doesn't really make... It's disguise, no disguise, and then disguise. You could
do it though with the way these scenes are all laid out. I mean, if the carnival had come first and then the bar, who cares? Yeah, right.
Well, I agree. I liked all the amusement park stuff, and one of the thoughts that occurred to me was that if you didn't have the preamble to all of this or whatever show, you didn't know what show you were watching or whatever, that amusement park is no different whatsoever from an amusement park in the United States.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I don't know why that occurred to me as something very interesting, that, how similar that thing is between our two countries. I mean, literally, like, there was nothing there that I thought was anything different, from what struck me about those scenes was that
you've had boxing matches at your carnivals.
That I don't know. That's very interesting. Now, granted, I was born in 1965. I wasn't exactly running around to amusement parks and carnivals when I was, under the age of 5 or 4 or 5. But I don't know. I mean, I suppose, I could see that. One of the things that struck me was that it goes back and forth between actual location filming.
Yes.
And is that the place that's called Borehamwood?
What, the park itself?
The park. Yeah, I've seen notes in places about filming at a place called Boreham Park, and that obviously it's a real place and all of that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyways, what was interesting was that it. Oh no! That Borehamwood is the street where he talks to Potter as the shoeshine guy.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It doesn't say in here. Oh, the fair was the Kursaal at Southend. Okay. Anyways, it swung wildly back and forth between location filming and rear screen projection. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out how the hell why they did it that way, because when he's on the roller coaster, I get that.
Right.
Today they could have done it, or I don't know, McGoohan didn't want to do that or whatever. And that's unfortunate because that's obviously very fake, but in some ways it goes in with the goofiness of this whole thing. But there's quite a lot of other shots where he's just in the amusement park. Like, there's one where he sees her and she's enticing him, and he's completely in front of a rear screen projection. And it made me wonder, it's like, why do that with those scenes? Which, to me, that wasn't necessary, unless they were afterthoughts or McGoohan was only available for a certain amount of time. Because there are shots of him at the actual amusement park, you know?
Right.
So just, I don't know. That's me, you know, being interested in the production of these sorts of things. And then I think there is actual shots on the roller coaster with the photographer and his model.
Yes.
Those are not rear screen projection, but when they go to McGoohan, I think it is. So just very interesting. There are shots of somebody in the Sherlock Holmes costume on the actual roller coaster, but obviously are not him. They're all from the back, you know.
Right,
it's probably McGoohan. He probably didn't like roller coasters or want to put up with that kind of crap, you know. You know, to try to act while on a roller coaster. It's also funny how easily they're climbing around those cars and everything with absolutely no anything holding them in. Seat belts or the bar, or, you know, there's no safety features on that roller coaster.
I was impressed that they didn't have a scene in a Hall of Mirrors.
Oh, you nailed that one. You're right. Wow, they missed out. So, what did you think of the guy who plays Schnipps?
Before you get to him for a moment, I want to touch on one more thing in this merry little chase she leads him through. Just before they hit the abandoned town, they're doing the road chase, and this was where I finally went, I give up. I'm done. This is insanely stupid.
Oh, yes.
Her ability to distort reality.
No, that's wonderful. That was You're nuts. You're crazy. Okay, guess what? You're right. It made no sense whatsoever. How is she doing that? Does she have some sort of powers? Did she slip him some sort of potion or drug? Right. And it's all rear screen projection, but somehow it works because she coordinated that very well. Her hand movements to the swirling of the rear projection. And I don't know. I actually really like that part because it is very disorienting and weird or whatever. But, you want to know how the hell she's doing that. Well, listen, at some point in this whole thing, I think you have to wonder who or what she is. Maybe she's not just the daughter of this maniac who thinks he's Napoleon, but is she, and maybe you need to sit down for this if you're not already sitting down, is she an actual personification of death, as the title implies? Meaning, is she a supernatural creature?
Right.
Yeah. But it doesn't follow through with that, at the end.
Right.
But at that point, I think you have to wonder, and in that sense, it could be like a letdown, by the production and the putting together of this is that's interesting to me because I actually love that kind of stuff in TV and film, personifications of ideas and concepts. And then it's, if there is any, nod to that, it's just dropped. But I actually love that. I'm sorry you didn't.
Yeah, no. That's when I finally was like, I'm done. At that point, I was just watching to get it finished and come up with, honestly, I was like, this is just not what I signed on for the prisoner.
Oh, no, you're the boy who was a dud. Come on, have fun with it.
But
we're almost at the end. I don't know how much fun you're going to have in the final two-parters.
I know, right? You asked me about Schnipps, and I mean, he's nuts. Yes. If this were a story in Secret Agent, if this were an Avengers episode, if this was an Avengers episode, it still would be a middle of the road Avengers episode.
Oh,
it would not be
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's so many better Avengers stories.
Wouldn't have wanted to see Emma go up against Sonya? Wouldn't that have been something?
That would have been interesting. Okay.
If Sonya had done all these things to Steed, and then Emma comes in and says, hey, listen, girl, and takes her out, that would have been very interesting. You know what? I'd pay for that cat fight. Schnipps to me is the stereotypical British character from this time in this sort of, thing. He's like the bad guy, but he's insecure. He's not all there. I really like the guy in that role because I always get a kick out of that sort of role in these sorts of TV shows and movies. It makes me think of one of my favorite British comedy films of the 60s, which is Casino Royale. And there's a bunch of characters, like that in there. They sort of like talk to themselves. They have like little asides in sort of a whisper, and you can tell they're almost walking in some other universe. And I don't know. I got a kick out of him. The part where he's walking down the line of his men, and he suddenly realizes, he looks at his hand in his jacket the way Napoleon supposedly did. He looks and he sees they're all doing it, and he gets mad and he goes back down the line and slaps all their hands out of the jackets. I don't know. Maybe I'm just easily amused. Maybe it was because I watched this thing at like 11 o'clock last night. But I was amused. I'm so sorry that you were not.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. It's got all the elements. You said it before, James Bond. They're spoofing it, but in a way, they're also nailing it exactly. Because what is it, James Bond? Especially those Roger Moore and Sean Connery, even more so. It's cat and mouse for the first hour to hour and a half, depending on the length of the film, and then the final half hour is your final confrontation with your main bad guy in his huge complex. Okay, the complex isn't that huge, but it's TV, but it's TV huge. I mean, considering this was a throw together episode, I was impressed with the computer set up there, the caves, and of course you got the bedding for our soldiers there. Then we get to the lighthouse, and that was all well and good. I thought that was all well and good.
The cave thing, I just wanted to stare at it for a long time. I love that, and I kept saying to myself, "There's no way they built that for this episode, right? I mean, that had to already exist." Yeah. As a set, because it's really cool. Yeah. I mean, compare that to, and forgive me, the Batcave. And the Batcave looks even more like paper mache, and you know how much I love that Batcave. I know. That hallway and all of that was really cool. So I need to know if somebody out there knows what that set is really for, and if they built that for this. Now, from what I understand, it shows up again in the final two-parter.
Yeah, I can imagine that, yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's what they did, is they build it knowing they'd get more use out of it, for a couple episodes. I don't know, but I'm laughing again because I love the scene where McGoohan is captured by Schnipps, and they do that thing where Schnipps is about to tell him about where the rocket is.
Yes.
And they both at the same time say, because the lighthouse is the rocket. And they say it at the same time. And Schnipps is like, oh, you figured it out. I don't know. I think McGoohan has a real comedic talent. And it's fun to see it come out. And, I think his comedic timing is good and everything. I do enjoy, it's funny because he can be so damn serious. real quick, just as a counterpoint to that, I was watching TCM the other day, and in between movies, they show like trailers, like vintage trailers.
Right.
And they had the vintage trailer for Ice Station Zebra.
Oh.
And it's going along, and I'm like, oh, McGoohan's, they're not showing McGoohan. And then they show McGoohan, and it's the scene where they're in the submarine, and I think McGoohan's like having a cup of coffee or whatever, and he's talking to the captain, and he's talking very calmly and very slowly, and then with the snap of a fingers freaks out. Do you know the scene? Where he slams the table and says, and you're going to get me there as quick as possible or whatever, and he just tears into it, and it's like, I was struck by like, wow, what an incredible scene with an incredible actor. And then he can turn around and do something like this episode and be goofy and funny, I just love him in that Sherlock Holmes look, and he's so deadpan, but he looks so stupid in that disguise, and stalking around like that. But anyways, you know what else that I thought that they put a little money into was the miniature of the lighthouse.
Yes.
And to blow it up. I almost wish there was a beat longer that you got a better look at the lighthouse, but my feeling is the way it's edited is so that you don't see that it's a model. Obviously it's a model, but I think if we had, I would have just liked to have seen the model a little bit more. I think it literally comes in almost right at the moment of detonation. And you don't really get to see it, but it looked like, okay, they built a nice model. I read in my booklet that it was a good representation of an actual lighthouse that they filmed at. Right.
Yeah. No. I mean, it looked fine, like you said, but and then, like you said, they abused the Prisoner soundtrack music because as he's sabotaging the bombs and sabotaging the guns, we get what I call the scheming music. Yes,
yes.
And then we get as he's fighting off, and again, that's brilliant. He fights off every one of Schnipps' men there when they all come down the stairs and stuff, and we get what I call the "How Great Thou Art" music as he's fighting them.
Yeah. Okay. So, does the ending help at all?
And that is how I saved London from the mad scientist. No more tonight. It's way past your bedtime. Come on now, bed. That's a good girl.
You will come tomorrow, please.
Yes, we'll see.
We'll see. All right, you will come tomorrow. Boxing, yes, boxing. No, you have the last lighthouse. No, I want fire.
Sleep. I'll come tomorrow. I don't think I have any other important appointments.
Might drop his guard with children. He might give something away.
Well, it was worth a try, number 2.
He told them a blessed fairy tale. That one wouldn't drop his guard with his own grandmother.
The ending helps in the sense that, okay, it brings everything into perspective. This wasn't, and we don't know. Was he just telling a story? Because the story, when he closes the book, it says the village storybook or something like that there. So Was he just telling a story? Was he telling a story based on the pictures? Because all we saw were pictures. So then he was telling a story. Was he relating an episode of Danger Man that he remembered, which is why we have Potter there and all? I mean, what is it? Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think, whether you care or not, buddy. my personal theory is that there is such a thing as the Village Storybook. He was looking at the pictures and was inspired to tell an actual mission that he was on when he was a secret agent before he resigned. But he embroidered it to fit the pictures better and because he was telling the story to gasp children, which I think this is the very first time we've seen children in the village, and the only time. And I remember at some point in our journey me saying something about there are no children, are there any children in the village? And wow, shades of WandaVision. Spoiler alert. I'm sorry, did you watch WandaVision?
I did. Oh, I did, straight through.
Yeah. No, where are the children? But anyways, whose children are those? This opens up a whole. If anybody hasn't ever written a short story, or one of the original novels, then touch upon this fascinating idea of whose children are those, and why would anybody allow those children, to be in the presence of a subversive like number 6? It's beyond me. And okay. It's kind of stupid. Okay, and you know what? We've seen this before. The people in the main story are like Wizard of Oz. They're the people at the end. They're number 2, and another village agent. Is Sonia's of just a village agent. So Schnipps is number 2. Big surprise. But whatever he says is just kind of stupid and nonsensical about. We thought that letting him talk to the children would open him up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she says it was worth a try, number 2. You people are stupid, If the village is going to fall, it deserves to, because we're at the bottom of the barrel of number 2s. Where number 1 is getting these number 2s at this point, is just... I don't know, but I'm going to go right back again to the positive. I love the tag at the end. The prisoner turns to the screen and says, good night, children. What does he say? Wherever you are,
good night, children, everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. And I love that, because that's what it is. Number 6 is supreme in this. And the village is run by a bunch of children at this point. If there was any real danger to him, it was in the beginning of the show. By this point, the village structure is falling apart, the hierarchy and what he's going to be able to do over the 2-parter. I'm not surprised, if you can even believe the 2-parter. But I'm glad for that little tag at the end, and I'm fascinated by the kids, and I'd like to write a story about why there are children there, how there are children there. Do the children have any idea of what's going on?
Yeah,
and that number 6 is allowed to interact with them and be telling them stories, and says he's going to. I love that he's going to come back because he doesn't really have anything else going on.
Yeah.
And that says to me quite a lot about the character of number 6. That's another side of him that we haven't really seen before, is that he has an affinity with children. They seem to enjoy his storytelling.
Yes.
And,
they wanted more.
They weren't put off by him. Kids are not dumb in the sense of, they know what they know. They know what they like, and they know what they don't like. And, like animals, dogs, it's the same sort of thing. They instinctively like the prisoner, the number 6. They like his storytelling. They see something in him of themselves or whatever. And the idea that number 6 has a child like part of him is also very, very cool, very interesting to me. Maybe I'm reading way more into this than was ever intended, but I'm trying to accentuate the positive here. And I totally get what you're saying, and I'm laughing a lot at it, but I totally get what you're saying, and I'm sure that a lot of other people feel exactly the same. And I'll end this up on my part by saying, take this out of the show, and the show does not suffer one single bit, for it. It has no real place in the show, and neither does Living in Harmony.
I totally agree. I mean, I agree about Living in Harmony. I just whereas you enjoy this one more, I enjoyed Living in Harmony.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed actually Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling more, save for the very ending that was let down.
Oh, well, okay, if Living in Harmony didn't exist at all, would you have liked this one better? Because it basically is the same damn thing. It's a story being told, and then you get the kicker at the end. It's the same exact thing. It's just a different motif. We had a spy spoof instead of a Western recreation.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, I just think it's, it was the 3 episodes in a row. It's the penultimate episode, if you consider story arcs.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, next time's one is really the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
But.
Well, that's what I have to say about this one.
I think I've said everything I needed to say about this one myself.
I think so too. And I want to compliment you because you did actually bring up some good things, I think, among your criticisms.
Oh, sure.
And I think I had a couple of negative things.
Yeah. I mean, there were moments I stopped and I said, I like that. That's cute. But it just I kept pausing and going, how much more? How much more? How much more?
Really? Oh my God. I think I just like screwball British 60s stuff more so.
I am subscribed to on Twitter a feed called Saucy 70s Adventures, and it's screwball comedy. It's also a bit more on the sexy side of it, but they also do other goofy things as well. I'm like, I just don't expect it in my Prisoner. That's all.
Okay.
After everything you've got and everything we're going to have. Maybe this is supposed to sort of get you off guard for what's about to come.
Yeah. I think you've just totally encapsulated the argument about this. Right. It's the offense of having it within the Prisoner. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can say it better than that. That's, exactly what it is. And I looked at it as not the Prisoner until the very end, and looked at it more like I wish I had thought of the Avengers, but looked at it more as like I was watching Secret Agent or Danger Man. And again, I'm one of 4 people on the face of the earth that like Casino Royale.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I need to watch that again to see what my feelings are on that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night, children. Everywhere.
Well, okay then. If that's it, then that's going to do it for this episode of Once Upon a Village, a Prisoner podcast. It was short and sweet, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
No offense to you, Jim. It's just
I did it for you, buddy.
But trust me, when we come back for our next episode, Once Upon a Time, the beginning of the end here of the series and of this podcast, I can tell you we're going to be going into detail here as we're going to be asking, what? Huh? Why? Because I do remember walking away very confused at the end.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I did, though, feel like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody can say that either about the 2-part.
Just a little sneak peek for the 2-parter. I won't get into it now, but it is and remains the strongest memories of the show from when I was a child.
Okay. All right. Well,
from when I first watched it as a kid, that I walked away with, and the memories that stayed with me were from the 2-parter, the end.
Okay. Well, Well,
all right.
There you go. Well, so folks, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all the other programming we've got here on the Chronic Rift Network. Let us know as we're finishing up here, your thoughts on, our thoughts here, so to speak, and in particular, where do you stand on the girl who was Death, an odd little duck in this pond of the village? By writing us at thechronicrift@gmail.com or commenting on our Facebook page or over at the website chronicrift.com. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Once again, everyone, Jim, be seeing you.
Be seeing you.
Cricket or boxing or chase, Agent Drake handles each scene with grace. In challenging Drake, she's made quite a mistake, and he'll soon put this pest in her place. And when she's convinced that he's died, her caution is blinded by pride. Her erstwhile suitor will become, her tutor, by hitching a whirlybird ride. His lover and he have now grown apart, in a lighthouse about to be flown apart. Destroying the missile is his goal, 'cause this'll turn Schnipps to Napoleon blown apart? What a wonderful show for McGoohan. They for months try to bring him to ruin, but his great sense of humor dispels gloom and doom, or how else would he do what he's doing? Now, this story is no documentary. It's a tribute to Spies Monumentary, presenting satirical Holmes and Bondish material. My dear Dr. Watson, elementary. But now on to some facts of production. The budget needed drastic reduction. Since return to location didn't fit this equation, David Tomlin made this bright deduction. Let's bring back our agent John Drake, and the perilous mission he'll take. We'll do a spy spoof and present living proof that Drake's background is real and not fake. And one more fact that I'll base my theory on. We can do it in London and here in Yon. We'll use local locations for their peregrinations, with no need to return to Port Merion. But beneath this amusing veneer, there are points that we have to make clear. So don't be too critical if I wax analytical. It is, after all, why I'm here. An agent courts death every day, though not in this outrageous way. It's my firm belief that some comic relief keeps sanity from fading away. So the prisoner indulged in a whim, and a plotline that's awfully slim, with the girl who was death, so that we'd catch our breath in between episodes that are grim. Just last week he destroyed number 2, as his knowledge of the village grew to master its psychology, and now its technology. There's one scene that gives us the clue. We clearly see this number 2 press a button to turn off his Jew, but after a bit, his screen is relit, and the prisoner delivers his coup. Since he knows there's no hope for parole, he has got to take total control. The shocked looks on their faces show they know they've changed places. It's child's play for him. That's quite droll. Well, children, it's getting quite late, so tune in next week. This one's great. I'm Scott Appel, and I'm wishing you well. If you'll pardon me, I have a date.